this idea. You wanted to do, like, there's obviously the guys that get all the love, and then there's guys that just don't get any love nationally. And I think that's not right. So we're going to do
No.
our part here today, and we're going to try to give some love to some guys who are in desperate need of it. So I'll let you go first. Who's the first guy that needs a little bit more love?
All right, the first guy that needs a little bit more love, and no surprise here, he's from the Phoenix Suns, is Mikal Bridges. I'm not even kidding when I say this. Mikal Bridges may be the most underrated small forward in basketball, okay? And the reason that I say that is simply because I don't think that we understand how much bigger of a player he is than the box score. And we got two other guys that are like that right now that are also on my list. But he's the king of it because for me, he's constantly guarding the other team's top scorer. He's constantly getting himself down to the other floor. His conditioning is masterful. He's been a textbook 3-and-D guy who's only gotten a little bit better, learning from Jay Crowder, who's been a 3-and-D guy for a large majority of his career. I love Mikal Bridges. I think if you watch him, you realize how much like he provides on the floor when he is there. Now, granted, he has some nights where he doesn't really show up in the scoring sheet, but I mean, we're talking about a guy, averaging 15 right now, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal and a half a game. He's got really, really positive things coming for him, and especially as he continues to gel with Chris Paul, Booker, Ayton, and Cam Johnson, he's going to fit right in and be really a key piece for them. So he's number one on my no love list. I know I probably got the bias there, but Justin, I know you got someone too.
Yeah, shocker that you went for a Phoenix Sun. That's nobody would have called that.
No one saw it coming.
Yeah, my first guy on the no love list is part of what might be the best new nickname in basketball. I'm talking about Sexland, and I'm going to Cleveland, and I'm talking about my guy Collin Sexton. Collin Sexton, out of Alabama, kind of under the radar last year. This year, first of all, the Cavs are weirdly good. They're the 7th seed this year. Sexland is in rage right now. He's top 20 in points per game at 24 points per game. Like, first of all, when they drafted Darius Garland, and I'm like, all right, they're just going to have 2 really small point guards out there at the same time. That's probably going to work. But I'm going Collin Sexton. Give some more love to Collin Sexton anytime you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I didn't see this coming. I think anytime we think about, an SEC basketball player, we think of Kentucky. We don't think of anybody coming out and maybe having superstar potential from a school like Alabama, but that's the kind of performance that he's putting on right now. He hasn't been the best distributor. I would like to see him be able to, pass the basketball a little bit more efficiently. It's very clear that he's more of an ISO scorer, but that being said, I mean, how can you argue with 24 points a game? I mean, he's been really under the radar, kind of good, on the rise for a while. He is taking a lot of shots a game. That obviously needs to be considered when we look at it. But pretty much every statistical category for him is up from last year. 3-point percentage, field goal percentage, scoring efficiency, the whole bit. He's just really hitting all of his marks, especially on the offensive end. I really want to see if he can become a bit better on the defensive side. He's averaging a steal a game, but if he can turn himself into this, point guard that's used to taking the ball out of other people's hands, he's going to be a problem. Like a real problem. Also, him and Garland trying to coexist has worked surprisingly well so far, though I think it's obvious that right now, even, though they're very short, into their short careers, that Sexton is definitely a head above Garland without a doubt.
Yeah, well, they're both just short in general, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Second guy on my list. We ready for it? All right,
sure.
Let's do it. So the second guy on my list is somebody that I think that, has sort of faded away simply because of the contract that he earned when leaving the Golden State Warriors, and that guy's Harrison Barnes. But I think that Barnes never receives enough love simply because the role, once again, that he plays within the Kings is such a defensive-minded role. I mean, he's really been efficient for them at a surprisingly, kind of a defensive resurgence for him at 28 years of age. He's scoring extremely well, 16 and a half points a game, which, isn't like, ooh, bat your eyes and like, love every moment of it. But I mean, come on, we're talking about Harrison Barnes, who had, a couple of big fall off years after leaving Golden State in Dallas. He, Bagley, Hield, and Fox, I think is such a better 4 than they lean on to be. Unfortunately, Hield is really having a down year compared to last year. Bagley just continues to improve, but there's a lot of hope for Harrison Barnes to be able to impact the Kings far beyond his time with the Kings, if that makes sense. You know, he's got a number of young guys who are on that squad right now, the most notable of which, who's scoring really well, is Tyrese Halliburton. But, you know, also, I mean, like, even guys like Hassan Whiteside, you know, who has a budding friendship with him as well. You know, Corey Joseph, too, obviously very young. I think that, you know, his impact is once again beyond the stat sheet as a leader. But I also just think that he doesn't get any love simply because we kind of regard him as a garbage basketball player. And he's still posting a 17 PER right now for them and is making plays happen. And, you know, the Kings are you know, probably going to be on the outside of the playoffs looking in when it's all said and done. But I love what Barnes brings to the table.
Gritty. That's what that guy is. Like, that's the reason why Golden State kind of lost their grit there. Why they needed to get Durant was because once Harrison left, you know, they blew that 3-1 lead. I like that pick. People forget about Sacramento, just in general, like not just NBA. Like they just think they don't know if it's there or not. So I like that pick. My second and final guy on the no love list. I'm going down to Houston, and I'm going Christian Wood, power forward. This team is weird without Harden. There's a big James Harden-sized hole in Houston. They need a guy to step up. John Wall's kind of been okay. Oladipo's coming on lately, but this guy has stepped in and filled a little bit of that void. 24 points per game, over 10 boards a game. Like, I think Shaq one night on the TNT broadcast was freaking out about him just because, like, he didn't know who he was. Like, his last 5 games, he's shooting the crap out of the ball. Christian Wood out down there in Houston, helping to mitigate the loss of Harden a little bit. So that's my no love guy. Really out of nowhere.
Yeah, when Wood, excuse me, say that 5 times fast, was moved from Detroit, I think a lot of people were just like, all right, this is like the real chance to like actually see what he got now because he's alongside some other promising players and whatnot. You know, I think that it's kind of unfortunate for the Pistons because that's the area that they're sorely lacking in this year is that you know, ability to be really dominant inside and also have a dominant inside passer, which Wood has proven himself to be as well. You know, I think that he's a quality pick. I think that he definitely doesn't get the love that he deserves. So yeah, more power to you. Yo, Justin, I'm going to audible because we mentioned him a little bit earlier, and as I'm thinking more about it, he really doesn't get a whole lot of love, and I think it's maybe because he plays in Indiana, but Malcolm Brogdon, who's averaging 23 a game right now for Indy with 7 assists. He's also one of the defensive leaders in steals right now. This dude can ball, and I think it's unbelievable that he's basically become the best scoring option, you know, that the Pacers have, especially with the dismissal of Oladipo. And, you know, obviously they're still waiting on, you know, Karis LeVert to, you know, really step in after his surgery. But, dude, I mean, Brogdon is just insane. We never saw this from him in Milwaukee. Milwaukee Malcolm was not like Indy Malcolm. And that's why, you know, I think it's worth taking a step back and being like, okay, dude plays on kind of a team that, you know, nobody really believes in right now. They will come playoff time. Get ready because I think they're going to take a team to 7 games. Don't know if they'll win, but, you know, we'll see whoever they get matched up with. But Brogdon, obvious that he has just elevated his game so much in the last couple of years, and it's so slept on, you know, and I'm wondering if it's just the fact that he was kind of in the Oladipo shadow for a little bit. Now he's not. He's really had the opportunity to turn it on. He's a quality rebounder, too, for being a pretty small guard. I love Brogdon, love what he brings to the table, would love him in Phoenix even more. But that being said, Indy has a good one there with him.
I love Malcolm Brogdon. I've loved him ever since he came out of UVA. Like, under the radar. I think he's a tall point guard. Isn't he like 6'5", though?
He is 6'5", yeah. So I'm going to eat my words on that one.
Yeah, like, you know, I always just remember him on 2K, like the point guard / shooting guard. But I love him. He got that big contract, right? He got the 5-year deal. So
yes, yeah.
He's I like him. That's a great pick. You know, guys like him, they don't get a lot of love. And I think our 4 picks for the guys who need more love list, I like it. So I think that's a great way to kind of wrap up.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Absolutely. I think that the no love list could grow 5-fold throughout the year. It always does in the NBA. I mean, we never have enough time to really appreciate the guys that make such strides simply because they are, you know, just on these uber competitive teams. You know, like I think that a good example, and not to continue on with the segment here, seeing as you are segment master and have cut us off, but, you know, I think that the no love thing is very true for Bam Adebayo right now. And he was going to be my original pick on the list as well, but I didn't put him there. Change of heart for Brogdon, but, you know, Adebayo is getting totally overlooked simply because the Heat are bad right now.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's like, well, you know, he's putting up numbers, but they're not winning. Bam looks like, Giannis 2.0. He's playing the game with such proficiency. And I think that everybody in Miami will tell you that if he develops a three-point shot, he's going to be the greatest player in the league. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I think he could be at a level of LeBron James-esque. He is that athletic, that much of a freak, both on offense and defense, in his ability to make plays, that he could easily be, a Giannis 2.0, a kind of, surging character, if you will.
Well, was he the one that had that block in the playoffs? Like, he burst onto the scene like so hard, and like his star burned so brightly, and I just haven't heard anything about him this year. He could have been like in a coma for all I knew, but like apparently he's doing okay.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm compelled, if you'll give me the 5 seconds it takes to pull this up here. I mean, like, look at the dude's numbers for those who are listening along at home. I mean, 20 points a game, 19.9, we'll call it 20. He's averaging 2 offensive boards to his total 9.5 boards, which could be a little bit up, but that's where he really excelled in the playoffs. 5 assists, a steal, and a block. His turnover numbers are a little bit iffy, but I mean, we're talking about this guy being a center. He's a 7-footer who, evidently in his 4th season in the league has just taken another step. And this is the time when we see those guys really take that step to become an elite player. And, I think that was sort of the conversation regarding Giannis for a while. He started about, getting into that 15 point range, and now all of a sudden he's back-to-back MVP. So, Adebayo, good things to come.